Book review: Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life is shimmering, poignant exploration of the messiness of being human, a forging identity, finding meaning, and holding on to love in a world that often feels like it's breaking apart and building itself anew all at once. Known for her pitch-perfect romantic comedies, Henry takes different turn here, crafting narrative that blends literary depth with readability, bringing her signature emotional acuity to bear on life's grandest and smallest moments. This review explores key aspects of the novel, from character development to thematic resonance, examining how Henry's storytelling elevates deceptively simple premise into something unforgettable. Plot summary: Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life tells the story of Delia Mason, 34-year-old woman whose carefully constructed adult life begins to unravel. Once an optimistic idealist with dreams of fulfilling career and perfect love, Delia finds herself grappling with profound disillusionment after the simultaneous collapse of her long-term relationship, her writing career, and her physical health. Breast cancer scare and subsequent recovery forces her to return to her small Michigan hometown to convalesce in the very place she swore she'd never return to. Back in Lakefield, Delia must face the ghosts of her past, her distant and emotionally stunted father, Peter, her teenage half-sister, June, with whom she shares little in common, and the aching absence of her late mother, who died when Delia was teen. The homecoming is awkward, uncomfortable, and often painful, but also deeply transformative. Delia's days become filled with mundane tasks: reorganizing the family garage, baking with June, and helping out at local bookstore. And these quiet rhythms begin to ground her. Through these small acts, Delia begins to reconnect with her younger self, remembering the imaginative, hopeful girl she once was. She's also drawn back into the orbit of Lee Harrison, her childhood best friend, and the boy who broke her heart years ago. Their dynamic is complicated, full of unresolved tension, shared memories, and new uncertainties. The Lee, now local teacher and recently divorced, is hesitant to reopen old wounds, but their interactions gradually shift from guarded nostalgia to something warmer, riskier, and more meaningful. Unlike typical romantic arcs, their relationship isn't the central focus of the book. It's one of several threads that help Delia reevaluate her identity, her past, and what it means to build life her own terms. One of the novel's most compelling aspects is the relationship between Delia and her half-sister June. Initially resistant to Delia's presence, June is guarded, sarcastic teenager navigating her own sense of otherness. As the two slowly build trust, bonding over art, shared frustrations, and quiet evenings, they forge fragile but heartfelt connection. Delia begins to see herself not just as daughter or ex-partner, but as sister, guide, and presence. Matters. The novel unfolds over the course of a year, organized seasonally, with each section capturing new stage in Delia's emotional journey. Through grief, awkward reconnections, and small triumphs, she begins to envision a future that isn't perfect but is real and beautiful in its imperfection. By the end, Great Big Beautiful Life is less about fixing everything and more about learning to live inside the uncertainty. Delia doesn't return to her old life. She outgrows it. Instead, she embraces quieter, more deliberate existence where meaning is found not in achievement or romance, but in presence, connection, and the choice to keep going. Character development: Emily Henry is master of character, and in Great Big Beautiful Life, her talents are on display. Delia is complex, fully realized protagonist. Her voice, sharp, funny, vulnerable, and brutally honest, anchors the novel. She's not always likable, but she is always real. Henry doesn't shy away from showing Delia's contradictions. She yearns for connection, but pushes people away. She's insightful yet self-sabotaging. Her evolution is slow, painful, and utterly believable. The supporting cast is equally compelling. Delia's father, Peter, is portrayed with nuance, far from stock difficult dad trope. He's deeply flawed, yet striving in his own quiet way to atone for past failures. The dynamic between Delia and her teenage half-sister June is especially moving. Their relationship shifts from guarded civility to something resembling love, marked by generational misunderstandings and surprising solidarity. Stand out as lead childhood friend and on-again, off-again love interest. Rather than acting as romantic savior, he functions more as mirror, reflecting back Delia's fears, regrets, and hopes. Their story is not about rekindling perfect love, but about rediscovering the possibility of one, if they're brave enough to do the hard work of healing separately and together. Themes: family, grief, identity, and renewal. At its core, Great Big Beautiful Life is about the collision between idealism and reality. What happens when the life you thought you'd have doesn't materialize? What do you do with the ruins of your best laid plans? Grief is central theme. Grief over a lost mother, failed relationship, career that no longer fits, and the gradual, painful shedding of illusions. Henry treats grief with tenderness and precision. She doesn't offer platitudes or easy answers, but instead presence. It is an ongoing, shape-shifting process. Emily, especially the imperfect patchwork kind, is portrayed in all its mess and beauty. The novel interrogates the tension between inherited expectations and chosen identity. Delia is estranged from her father not because of any dramatic betrayal, but because of 1,000 small moments of misunderstanding and emotional distance. Reconnecting is not single act, but series of choices made over time, often in quiet, awkward ways. Identity is an undercurrent, especially the notion that identity is not fixed. Delia is woman in flux, redefining herself outside of romantic or professional validation. The novel embraces the idea that life does not proceed in straight line, that backtracking, rerouting, and rebuilding are not signs of failure, but evidence of growth. Lastly, hope and renewal. The belief that beauty can emerge from brokenness are woven throughout. Henry doesn't idealize second chances, but portrays them as real and hard-won. The result is narrative that feels both grounded and uplifting. Structure and pacing. The structure of Great Big Beautiful Life is deceptively simple. The novel unfolds over a year, divided into seasons, each section beginning with brief poetic interlude from Delia's perspective. These interludes act almost like musical preludes, setting the emotional tone and reminding readers that time, like healing, moves incrementally. Henry's pacing is patient but never plodding. She allows moments to breathe, conversations to meander, silences to stretch, but always with purpose. The emotional stakes are gradually raised, culminating in final act that is both satisfying and emotionally wrenching. There are flashbacks, mostly to Delia's childhood and her mother's illness, but they are judiciously placed, enhancing rather than distracting from the main narrative. These glimpses into the past, texture illuminating the patterns that Delia must reckon with in the present. Pro-style. Emily Henry's writing here is luminous, clear, lyrical, and deeply expressive. She has gift for metaphor that enriches without overwhelming, and her dialogue sparkles with authenticity. Whether capturing the awkwardness of family dinner or the tentative intimacy of late-night confession, Henry's prose hums with emotional truth. One of the novel's greatest strengths is its use of interiority. Delia's thoughts are rendered with aching clarity or inner monologue. It's often wryly funny, sometimes brutally self-critical, but always deeply human. It's style that invites readers not just to observe her journey, but to feel it alongside her. Emotional resonance. Few authors write emotional arcs as convincingly as Emily Henry. Great Big Beautiful Life is not a tearjerker in the manipulative sense, but it does earn its tears. Its emotional resonance comes from its authenticity, from the way it captures life's small heartbreaks and unexpected joys. Readers will likely find themselves moved not just by the big revelations, but by quiet, ordinary moments. Teenage girl offering her sister of gum, father fixing broken cabinet without word, glance across bonfire that speaks volumes. Perhaps most powerfully, the novel offers vision of hope that feels earned. Delia doesn't get neat resolution or perfect life, but she does get real one, and in its imperfections, there's kind of grace. Criticisms and caveats. If the novel has a weakness, it may lie in its middle section, which meanders slightly. Some readers might feel that the narrative stalls as Delia resettles into her hometown routines. However, this lull mirrors her emotional stasis and ultimately contributes to the realism of her arc. Another possible critique is that the ending is a little tidy, especially in contrast to the emotional complexity of what precedes it. But even here, doesn't overreach. She leaves enough ambiguity for readers to imagine that Delia's story, like real life, continues beyond the final page. Conclusion. A life worth living in Great Big Beautiful Life. Emily Henry proves that she is more than just a gifted romance author. She's a keen observer of the human condition. This novel is testament to resilience, meditation on grief and love, and celebration of finding beauty in imperfection. It asks, can we let go of the lives we imagine in order to embrace the lives we're actually living? And it answers, not with resounding yes, but with quiet, hopeful maybe, which somehow feels even more powerful. This is novel to sit with, to return to, and to carry in your heart. Great Big Beautiful book indeed.